A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Newsfirst Weekend, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudarnaika. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
The COPE report on the bond scam, a Newsfirst exclusive with the Auditor General.
So many mistakes have been taken place, so we say that all the official of this process is responsible.
Former COPE chairman says the Prime Minister is accountable for the bond scam.
Prime Minister has not acted as a Prime Minister because he is involved in it, directly or indirectly.
Will Arjuna Mahendran return to Sri Lanka? Mass deforestation destroys Kotiagala.
And now for the stories in detail. Following the adoption of the report of the Committee on Public Enterprises on central bank bond issuances, questions now arise on what steps the state should now take and what procedures must be followed. Shahin Jurangpati joins us with more from the Newsfirst Centre. Shahin?
Well, thank you very much, Arundhati. Well, the country's Auditor General, charged with the duty of ensuring financial discipline in the governance and administration of our republic, played an integral role in the compilation of the COPE report on the alleged central bank bond scam. Newsfirst for our Shaukat Ali caught up with the incumbent Auditor General, Gamini Vijayasinghe, for an exclusive look at the task behind uncovering the truth and his task.
Mr. Auditor General, I'd like to ask you, what was all this consternation at the COPE proceedings? We have reports that you were being intimidated. The Auditor General of this country were being intimidated. Were you intimidated? Did you feel intimidated?
No, not that extent, but I think better to read all the verbatings for the last so many days happened in the COPE.
Right.
So it will be come out very soon with this all the report.
Right.
So then you can decide it, because Auditor General means one of the big position.
Yeah.
So whether people has been properly respect to that position to be decided by somebody else, not me. I am assisting to the COPE. I am not the member of the COPE. If they ask me to prepare some report, we will do it, and if they like, they can take into account and go ahead. If they feel that report is not proper for them, they can even throw it away.
In terms of when it comes to spending government money, or when it comes to procurement, basically in securing money for the government, what's your mantra?
That, of course, it is a very good question. That's one of the basic fundamental principle of this report. So I have to think about the least cost of least risk. So that's the main principle of borrowing money from the overseas or in domestic market. Should be least cost and least risk. So that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
We have Minister Sujiva Senasinghe, who says that he's reported as saying that you were unable to answer a question. What is that question that you were unable to answer?
This is not a half an hour, 1 hour discussion. It's a long, lengthy discussion. We have several hundred questions. So all the relevant questions have been answered.
Right.
So sometimes maybe some irrelevant question. It is not effect. It is not material for the decision of this issue.
And what are these footnotes? Is that an attempt to change your decision or to water your decision?
Yeah, that is again that's a same issue. And if one party feels that they need further elaborations or something to that notes available inside the report, so they can do it. That is the one they did it during the last exercise.
Because you are the Auditor General of the country, were you disappointed? Did you think at some point, well, I don't want all this, I want to go home? Did you think about that?
No, I don't have that type of pressure. This is one of the new experience.
Right.
That is there. But still, I enjoy all those exercise.
In your report, in your submissions, in your opinion to COPE, have you made it clear as to who you would hold responsible as the Auditor General?
Yeah, I explained it with the all the officials, not the one singular person,
Yeah.
because it has been involved all the other committees and things like that.
Yeah.
So many mistakes has been taken place. So we said that all the officers of the this process is responsible.
Chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprise, or COPE, in the previous parliaments, D.E.W. Gunasekara, says that the Prime Minister too should be held accountable for the central bank bond scam. Now, he made these observations to Chaturanga Hapuarachi on our segment Newsline.
The Committee on Public Enterprises, or COPE as we know it. What is going to happen to the report that was presented by them to Parliament with regard to the controversial central bank bond transaction? What is the future course of action? We have with us on our Newsline segment today a former chairman of the COPE committee, Mr. D. Gunasekara. There have been talk of 30 reports presented by the COPE in Parliament, and nothing has been done with regard to those 30. What do you think will happen to the 31st report?
So many reports have come and gone. I think, as he has rightly correct, not only the reports under Mahindra Rajapaksa, even the reports under Jayajavadana downwards, none of them have been implemented.
What is your view on the recommendations that have been presented?
I think this committee has given a report that is stronger than my impending report of my mind, because I was concentrating only one episode, that is regarding the February 27
Bond
transaction.
Yes.
But they have included the bigger one. Another one came in the March
2016.
2000. So now that the recommendations are there, and all are inclined to accept the recommendations, even those footnote members are inclined to accept it. So nothing but is left to the executive or the government concerned to implement the recommendations.
What is the role of the Prime Minister when it comes to all of this? How should a Prime Minister act when there is
Prime Minister has not acted as a Prime Minister. He has to acting as a UNP leader in the House also. Judging from the behavior itself. Yes. Because I'm after all, if he is the Prime Minister, he represents the entire country. He represents all the political parties as far as the Prime Minister, post of Prime Minister is concerned. So when a report is presented, he must, with sense of sobriety, patience and objectivity, he must say, right, we accepted what the chairman says and we will implement it. That should have been his conclusion.
Yes.
But without doing that, he resorted to another tactic.
Yes.
Now, the present COPE, really the so-called Yapalana people, he was referring to Yapalana people, thieves have been brought into the Yapalana camp.
Yes.
But out of the entire 26, only 3 members belong to the previous regime. For his own Yapalana people, 23 people out of 26 say that he is wrong, therefore he is bound and duty on the part of the Prime Minister to accept the report.
Do you think this report will go through and there will be legal action taken on the recommendations, or whether the recommendation itself will be enacted?
Judging by the previous experiences of all administrations and judging by the way how the Prime Minister handles things, I have my doubts.
You have known the Prime Minister for a very long time.
I have my doubts that he will implement this at all.
Yes. Do you have a specific point as to why you think this will?
Because he is involved in it. I mean, he has contributed directly or indirectly. So he has to safeguard those people's concerns. I have my own reservations as to how far the Prime Minister will act on this. So in the first instance, must have the debate in the House.
Yes.
This is a subtle move on the part of the government or the Prime Minister to delay. He'll be adopting the delaying tactics for another 4 years' time. By the time the elections come, the whole thing will go for 6. The President must intervene, because this is a matter which concerns the financial system. The best thing is, as head of the state, he must have a presidential commission. And presidential commission, all the evidence and everything there. So
who should be heading this presidential
I think
commission?
Must be a Supreme Court judge or someone.
So when it comes to this whole report, the recommendations, the complete statements made by MP Sunil Handunnetti, the current chairman of the COPE committee. Do you think that their investigations will stop from where they are right now, or do you think it has to continue?
I think we must carry on the campaign. The media, the people must continue to demand justice. That is the only way. Even this particular report would have come in this form. Had there been, the people were quiet, if the media has been keeping quiet,
Yes.
probably, Sunil Handunnetti would have got that strength from within.
Yes.
I think he was strengthened from outside. He was strengthened
Yes.
to withstand the pressure. So similarly, in the implementation process also, I think we must continue to exert pressure.
A media briefing was held at the UNP headquarters Sirikota today to clarify the party's position on the COPE report on central bank bond issuances.
There is only one report from the Committee on Public Enterprises. There are no two reports. This is the report. The Auditor General submitted his recommendations before the report was prepared. He made 14 recommendations. This is what is important. All members of COPE accept all 14 recommendations. Later, it is presented to the chairman, MP Sunil Handunnetti. That is to say, he is told to present the COPE report in line with the Auditor General's recommendations. He presents a draft to the committee, and this draft contains a certain number of general recommendations made by the chairman. All members have agreed with all the general recommendations. I believe that legal action will be initiated now through the Attorney General. My stance is that COPE proceedings should be open to the media. Even during the discussion on this in February and March 2015, I did not try to save anyone. I was unable to attend 2 COPE sessions because I had to accompany the President overseas. I was told by someone that certain things happened during these sessions, but I did not see it. I was not there on the day. We have not removed any of the Auditor General's recommendations.
Now, speaking in Candid today, the Minister of Higher Education and Highways, Lakshman Kiryala, expressed these views on the COPE report on the bond scam and the former governor of the central bank.
Even before the investigations on this commenced in Parliament, certain members of COPE convened media briefings and said that Arjuna Mahendran is guilty. How can they say someone is guilty before hearing any testimony? We have evidence as we have the recordings of the media briefings. They have held 15 media briefings. They have said that Arjuna Mahendran is guilty. If they have held such media briefings, they have no right to conduct the investigation. Those who are hearing the case have no right to even hold press conferences. When we send this report to the Attorney General, we will present the necessary points. They think that the government will collapse because of this bond issue. This government will not be toppled. This I say to you very clearly.
Addressing an event in Walasmulla, General Secretary of the UPFA, Minister Mahinda Amaravira, expressed his views on the COPE report on the bond issue.
I was the one who initially handed over the petition on the bond scam to the Bribery Commission. We are now seeing the results of the struggle we commenced. COPE has determined that he and his son-in-law are guilty, and they have submitted a report in that regard. It is essential that legal action is taken against them in the future. We have faith that the judiciary will decide to penalize them and take the necessary course of action to recover that money. We have great faith in the judiciary. At the initial stages, even the UNP was at the level of protecting him, but it appears that subsequent to the COPE report, even they have shown their solidarity with the COPE report. Arjuna Mahendran will come. He has to come. If not, we will use the international police to apprehend him.
Arjuna Mahendran nee. එන්න ඕන. නැත්තම් අපි ජාත්‍යන්තර පොලිසියට දාලා හරි අල්ල ගන්නවා.
Saman Ratnapriya of the Anti-Corruption Front convened a media briefing in Balapitiya today to raise awareness on the COPE report on central bank bond issuances and the future course of action.
ආණ්ඩුවට පුළුවන් කාරණා දෙකක් කරන්න.
The government has two options. One is to take legal action through the Attorney General. If not, they can appoint a presidential commission which has judicial powers. They need to take either one of these decisions very soon. The executive needs to follow such a procedure. Those found guilty must be put in prison. This was a scam that resulted from a deal reached on the basis of friendship. If the 5.2 billion is recovered, at least we could use it to build a large number of homes for thousands of poverty-stricken people in the north, the east and the south.
Well, Newsfirst will of course keep our eyes open and keep a close watch on how more developments on the central bank bond scam will unravel in the future. Till then, I'm Shahin Jarampati. It's now back to you, Arundhati.
Thank you, Shahin. Editorials serve an important purpose in that they put forward the position taken by a particular media organization on the issues that matter to the people. In today's digital world, an editorial becomes an important way of cutting through the clutter and get to the heart of the matter. Starting today, Newsfirst will telecast our own weekly editorial every Sunday. Here is the very first Newsfirst editorial.
The Newsfirst editorial. Corruption, a word that was used to devastating effect before the 8th of January 2015. All in the name of change and a better Sri Lanka. And the people trusted what they were told, what they were promised, and they came out and voted. Yes, they voted for individuals, but what did they really vote for? They voted against an old archaic system. They voted against the abuse of power. They voted against being used by politicians. They voted against seeing politicians enrich themselves whilst the people themselves struggled to make ends meet. They voted against lies, broken promises, and decades of poverty. They voted for change and most of all, against corruption. One man stood against corruption and asked the people to stand behind him. And on the 8th of January, they did. But despite his efforts, today, those who benefited from a fearless people have turned their backs on the very people who gifted them with the opportunity to usher in a new Sri Lanka. They rule in arrogance and nonchalance. They do not see nor do they understand the pain our people endure day in and day out. They don't feel their thirst, their hunger, the lack of opportunity, a fear of dreaming for something more than a job as a laborer. Our mothers and sisters are being exported while our children's futures are being stolen from them by mass-scale, white-collar robbery. Today, those who the people rejected countless times have been set in high office by virtue of a democratic process and not on their own merit. Leaders who use their political cunning to cling on to power within their own party whilst the party itself decayed are using the same tactics to cling on to power and continue to rule our nation. Today, they have been exposed beyond reasonable doubt. Today, not only have they lost out on their political base, but far more importantly, they have lost the trust of the people. Yes, politics is changing. And the politics of subsidies, the politics of fear, the politics of violence, the politics of corruption is coming to an end. And the question is, Do our politicians have any understanding of this? Do they see it, or are they blind? Do they even care, or are they blissfully ignorant? For the sake of our beautiful nation, our motherland, it is time that these corrupt, rogue politicians go home. Resign. Save that last iota of dignity if you still have it. Think of our people and hand over the reins to a new generation. This nation has bled enough. We have suffered and we have struggled. Enough is enough.
On to another one of our headline-making stories. Now, this is a Newsfirst expose on mass deforestation taking place in Luhugala in the Yala and Kumala National Parks.
Newsfirst correspondent Sulakshana Piyatissa accompanied a group of environmentalists researching deforestation. The journey commenced in the village of Kotiagala in Siambalandua, Monoragala. We were welcomed by a scenic ecosystem as we entered the Kotiagala Reserve area. This is a catchment area for the Hadaoya and Kumbukanoya rivers and is home to valuable and diverse flora and fauna. However, our camera captured these distressing scenes 3 kilometers into the protected reserve. Environmentalists claim that the total area that has been cleared in this way amounts to more than 30,000 acres. Locals who wish to remain anonymous claim that officials of the Forest Conservation Department have provided these lands to external parties for chaina cultivations and to grow cash crops. Large-scale cultivation is being undertaken here using tractors as well. This footage bears testament to the fact that the forest has also fallen victim to timber racketeers. While boundary markers put up by the Department of Wildlife have been removed, environmentalists also claim that the destruction is taking place with the knowledge of the officials at the Monoragala District Office of the Forest Conservation Department. There has been no deforestation yet in the wildlife zone. Large-scale deforestation is taking place in areas totaling tens of thousands of acres which are under the purview of the Forest Conservation Department. This shows that the Forest Conservation Department lacks the enthusiasm or ability to protect our forests. The Forest Conservation Department must decide if they are able or unable to protect their lands. In a backdrop where Sri Lanka's forest cover has already declined to 16%, is it not imperative that the competent authorities act at least now to protect such biodiverse ecosystems?
2 police officers were killed in an accident in the Pitipan area on the Nigambu-Pamanugama road last night. The police said the motorcycle the officers were riding on collided with an oncoming vehicle at around 8:20 last night. According to the police, the driver of the vehicle has been arrested in connection to the incident, as preliminary investigations have revealed that he was under the influence of alcohol. The deceased police officers were attached to the motor traffic unit of the Nigambu police. They were identified as a 39-year-old resident of Anamadua and a 32-year-old resident of Dankotua. Speaking at an event held in Colombo yesterday, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe elaborated on trade agreements which the country is set to reach in the future.
If the market goes down, so be it. The market goes up, so be it. I am looking at what benefits the people. And one of those is the tea. Japan has increased its assistance to us under the comprehensive partnership dialogue. With India, we are also working out DESTA, which will make us cooperate with the Indian market. And with Singapore, we are having another free trade agreement, in addition to China, and the GSP Plus from EU is on the way. So we have all the major markets we have covered, except USA. Well, I don't know what will happen in USA in November. We look at it after that. But I think this is well enough. We have talked with the IMF to get the budget under control. At least we can now breathe a sigh of relief.
The Prime Minister expressed his views at the 26th Annual General Meeting of the Sri Lanka Tea Factory Owners Association, which was held in Colombo yesterday.
And in sports news, Sri Lanka's batsmen continued their strong showing into day 2 of the first test against Zimbabwe today, posting a mammoth total of 537 runs in Harare. This is Rangan Herath's first test match as captain of the national team. Batting in their first innings, the Zimbabweans were on 88 runs for the loss of 1 wicket at stumps on day 2. Also in sports news, Sri Lanka's ace shuttler Niluka Karnaratne won his 15th National Men's Singles Badminton Championships today. The 64th National Badminton Championships worked off today at the Sri Lanka Army Indoor Stadium in Boyagane, Kurunegala. It was a battle of the brothers in the men's singles final where Niluka Karnaratne saw off his sibling Chamika. Niluka was unable to claim victory in the men's doubles and mixed doubles this year. Bhuvanika Gunatilaka and Sachin Das emerged victorious in the men's doubles, while Bhuvanika and Kavindi Sirimanna claimed victory in the mixed doubles. Tilni Hendaheva won a 4th women's singles title at the championships. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.